Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to Move IQ's People in Property series. I'm Phil Spencer, and today I'm talking to a panel of people working in government who play a very important role in the property market. We are here to talk about location data, often referred to as geospatial data. And I want to talk about how this data benefits home buyers by giving you access to upfront information, and how it generally makes the whole home buying process quicker and simpler. But before we get into the meat and bones of it, let me invite my guests to briefly introduce themselves, name, organisation, and a quick summary of your role. Over to you, Catherine. Could I start with you?
Hi Phil, thanks so much for having me on. My name is Catherine Young. I head up the Analysis and Data Strategy team at the Geospatial Commission.
And Andrew.
Hi Phil, I'm Andrew Trigg. I'm working with Land Registry and I'm the Chief Geospatial and Data Officer.
And Mark, please. This sounds like blind date. What's your name and where do you come from? Mark.
Hi Phil, I'm Mark Kelso. I'm also at Land Registry. I'm the Programme Director for the Local Land Charges Programme.
And last but definitely not least, Carly.
Thanks, Phil. I'm Carly Morris. I'm the head of Geovation at Ordnance Survey, and Geovation is a location data focused startup hub.
And we'll be finding out what on earth that means a little bit later. Catherine, could I perhaps start with you? Could you tell us what the Geospatial Commission is, and perhaps in simple terms, if there is such a thing, could you try and explain how geospatial data supports home buyers and sellers and the whole sort of property transactions in general?
Thanks, Phil. Well, the Geospatial Commission is a team. We sit at the heart of government in the Cabinet Office. And we exist because there is huge potential to improve how the UK uses data about where things are. So this type of data can be called location data or geospatial data, hence our name. And to give you a few examples, geospatial data includes things like property boundaries, aerial photography images, and digital maps of pipes and cables under the ground. You asked about how geospatial data helps home buyers and sellers. Well, it does so in a number of ways. I know when I was buying my home, I wanted to get as much information as possible about that property and the surrounding area. That included features like its age, its council tax band, the energy efficiency, as well as the location of the property relative to nearby power lines, schools, and amenities. All of this data can be mapped out as geospatial data, and all of that affects the value of your home. Our goal in the Geospatial Commission is to make this type of vital data easier to find and access so that more people can use it and understand where things are and how they relate to each other's location. And we do that by working in partnership with other public sector organisations, just like the Land Registry, who are also here today.
That was a very good summary of a very complicated scenario. So the data's always been there. Could somebody have accessed it 5 years ago or 10 years ago?
Well, certainly there's been a lot of data available, but the steps that we're taking in the Geospatial Commission is to make that data more accessible and more easy to access. So we've been doing things like harmonising licensing rules, making data more easily findable through search engines, and making that data easier to link to other data sets so it can deliver more insights.
All music to our ears and super useful to everybody involved in the property sector. Thank you, Catherine. Andrew, could I come to you and your colleagues at Land Registry, and perhaps if you could tell us what Land Registry's role is in the property market, because it's a lot more complex than I think people first expect or imagine.
Well, the Land Registry sits at the heart of property ownership and the conveyancing process that we all go through when we buy and sell houses. So All land and property which is owned in England and Wales, we only cover England and Wales, is registered on the land register, along with details of mortgages, lease details, any ownership changes, price of the property, for all 27 million property titles that we have across England and Wales. I think the most important point that people don't always know or understand is that by being on the register, government guarantees that you do own that property. So effectively, it's providing a state guarantee of ownership. And it's that surety, the guarantee of ownership, that mortgage companies lend against. That's the effect of the insurance that a mortgage company will use.
Yeah.
Without that, there would be a very different mortgage market, and we'd have something akin to the States, where you have to take out ownership insurance just in case it's shown that you don't own the land that you occupy, whereas in the UK, government stands behind that and guarantees your ownership through the land register. And we have about 27 million titles on the register that guarantee applies to.
Are there still properties outside of the register?
There are.
Yeah, there must be.
Yes, there are. We cover, the spatial coverage of the register is about 87%, I think, high 80s%. And that's because compulsory land registration didn't reach every part of England and Wales until the early 1990s. So in those areas where compulsory registration came in that late, if you bought a property before that, it's still unlikely to be registered, but we will catch up over time.
Okay. Any idea, and I'm sort of slightly asking you possibly to pluck a figure out of the sky, but have you got any idea how much those 27 million properties that are on the register might be worth?
There have been various estimates. It runs into trillions of pounds. It's a rare use of the word trillion, I think. Various estimates, low numbers of trillions, 3 or 4 trillion pounds, I think, is one of the latest estimates. So it's a considerable amount that we're guaranteeing.
It is therefore a huge responsibility to have everything right, because an awful lot hangs on it. Mark, coming to you next, if I may, because I know that Land Registry is doing a huge amount of work digitising this geospatial location data, which is currently held in all the different local authorities' land charges registers. For the benefit of our audience, Mark, could you try and explain what local land charges are, and indeed why they're important when someone is thinking about buying a property?
Yes, of course. So local land charges basically are restrictions or obligations that are attached to land. And the examples I normally use, because most people know what they mean straight away, are things like planning conditions, tree preservation orders, or listed building status. All of those things are local land charges. They're also financial charges, so they're not all kind of on the things that you can do. Sometimes they are financial charges for use of services and things like roads. So there's quite a wide variety of what those charges can be. But as you said, they're all historically held by local authorities and the local land charges register. Why they're important is probably two key things, really. First of all, they tell you what you can and can't do with your property. So obviously, if you want to, certainly when you're looking to buy a property, if you want to build an extension but there's a protected tree in the way, you're really going to want to know that before you buy it. Or similarly, if there's listed building status or some restrictions on what you could do and you don't like the windows and will want to change them, that's information that are really relevant to people who are buying properties. But also, it really materially affects the value of the property. So this information is really critical for surveyors when they're doing their valuations, and for banks and mortgage lenders to understand, because they want to know what they're lending against.
If there was a restrictive covenant on attached to a property, would that be registered with you, or would that be registered with the solicitors and that side of things?
So the way local land charges work, have worked before the local land charges programme, is that each local authority basically holds a local land charges register, and normally it's the local authorities who generate these restrictions, but it doesn't have to be, but they would register them there. And if you wanted to understand them, you would basically go to a local authority and search their register, either physically go and search it yourself or pay them to search it for you. What we're doing with the local land charges programme is basically getting all of that data into one register, which Land Registry will hold.
Yes.
It's 100% digital and it's accessible to everybody through gov.uk. You can just go on and get access to that straight away.
But that was the bit that kind of really intrigued me when I read about it, because there were so many local authorities, and presumably they've been holding their data in very different ways because they're all independent from one another. Collating that under one usable platform is a mammoth piece of work. How long have you been working on that?
So the legislation that kind of gave us the ability to do this work was in 2015. We launched our register and service in 2018 with our first local authorities,
Okay.
and we've been going ever since. So actually, including the work to pass the legislation, the program's just had its 10th birthday,
Right.
but we're only just really starting to understand how to do all of that work that you've kind of described there, which is take this data, which is in 330 plus different local authorities with different standards. Some of it's on microfiche, some of it's on paper, some of it's already lovely, beautiful and digital. We have to get that all consistent in one place, and it's a mammoth task. We have literally hundreds of people working on it day in, day out, in partnership with local authorities to kind of get that so that it's available and ready to be used up front, as you said at the top of the session.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it's great that everyone's pushing in the same direction, because what you do once it's complete benefits everybody in the country, but it is a huge piece of work. So well done you for taking it on. How are you engaging the rest of the property industry to get involved and to roll this out, as well as enjoy and benefit from using all the data?
So as a department, Land Registry is constantly talking to industry, be that conveyancers, solicitors, search companies, to try and get them to understand the data we've got in order to shape the kind of services that we're offering. So, we're constantly in dialogue. To be honest, the quality of the product, I think, is doing a lot of the work for us. People are seeing our search service and seeing what a change it's made. So, for example, previously, if you made a search with a local authority, quite often that's like a manual process behind it, so it can take days to get the search results back. Our service is 100% digital. You do your search in gov.uk and it comes back straight away. On average, with an official search, so a search that you would have done with a local authority, we save 12 days. So 12 days of time for every search. And because it's digital, we're able to do it at a cheaper price point as well. So our official searches are a flat £15, and on average that's saving about £11 per official search. So with that kind of availability, like, people are really keen to work with us. There's a lot of the question we get asked most of all is, like, how quickly are you going to finish the program? When are you going to do this local authority? Can you do it next? And and absolutely, that's our overwhelming focus.
I think I genuinely think it's really super exciting. I've been working in helping people buy for 28 years, I think, and the constant frustration is it takes so long. Why does it take so long? Everything's drags out. But what you're doing is transformative, and I just think it's really exciting because everybody benefits. Thank you, Mark. Can I come to Andrew, because local land charges, they're actually just one type of geospatial data that you guys hold at Land Registry, aren't they? Could you tell us a bit more about the other types of data being held and how they benefit people involved in the property market?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have a portfolio, I think about 12 different data sets which reflect different components of the land register. I guess the most well-known is our property price data set, which we supply as a national data set, and then others take and use as appropriate. So, for example, most people will be familiar with Zoopla, Rightmove. You can go onto their websites and find the price of a property, whether it's one you're interested in or you're interested to know what your neighbour sold their house for. The information that Zoopla, Rightmove and the like use is a land registry data set, which gets published every month. That data set, though, is also used for more complex analyses by all sorts of people in the property industry. So you can slice it by region or by property type or various other parameters which are in the data set to help you to analyze the mechanics and the dynamics in the property market. It does mean that at the end of that process, house buyers and sellers are better informed with what they can do with properties and the properties that they might be interested in.
Yeah.
We also use that data to provide into the UK House Price Index, along with our colleagues in Northern Ireland, Scotland, and the Office of National Statistics. So every month, the national statistic, which is the UK House Price Index, is published, and that's used by people such as the Bank of England, who use it to provide the official measure for house price inflation, for example.
Thank you, Andrew. While I've got you, I've always wanted to ask this question because obviously it's clear that land registry analysis and data is factually accurate, and the different building societies and what have you can't offer that. But could you just talk us through the timelines of when if somebody buys a house, at what point, or what is the timeline, the gap between somebody completes on a house and it falls into your data and it becomes part of it? Is there a period of time?
So the registration of a property most usually happens after the completion of the transaction. So it's not something that's necessary for the transaction to complete.
Sure.
So it does mean there will be a gap between the actual house move and that price appearing for example, in the national price data set which we publish, and that can vary depending on the type of transaction and how long it takes to process.
I mean, is it a week, or is it a month, or could it be 3 months?
It could be a matter of days. Or it could be a matter of a few months in the more complex cases. So it depends entirely on the kind of transaction and how we have to process it.
Fine. Thank you, Andrew, very much. Following on from that, Carly, can I come to you to tell us about Geovation and the support that you guys are providing for startup companies in prop tech? I was blown away when I heard about this. And genuinely, it was completely news to me. I think you should be shouting loud and proud. So here is your opportunity, Carly. What are you up to?
Oh, well, fantastic. I'm really pleased to hear that, Phil. And yeah, there's so much exciting new innovations coming out of Geovation. I absolutely should be shouting about it more. So Geovation, as I mentioned earlier, it's a location-based startup hub. And what that means is we are empowering startups. We're providing them with funding, with data, with access to technical expertise that will help them to build businesses and create companies using location and property data. We run a series of different innovation programs in order to do that and to provide that support. And we do run a program also in association with Land Registry focused on the property industry.
Where's all the money coming from? How much are you able to tell us figures, the kind of money that you're helping people with, these startup companies?
Absolutely. So we're providing any startups that join our accelerator program with £20,000 of equity-free funding. And that is in absolute recognition of the fact that these startups, as they grow, are going to bring back value to the UK economy. So over the time that Geovation has been running, which is about 12 years now, we've actively supported over 150 different startups. They have then gone on to raise over £130 million into their businesses, and then created off the back of that as well 2,500 jobs for the UK economy. So there's absolutely societal benefit in the investments that we're making.
That is sensational numbers. And can I ask, all those companies, how many companies do you say?
150 we've supported.
Okay, so all those 150 companies, are they all in the world of property?
Yes.
In some
way.
So
they are either in the world of property or using geospatial technology in some way. So we do see every industry coming through our doors, from electric vehicle charging through to house buying. You know, we do really see everything coming through Geovation, but a lot are focused on using property data because we can help them to use land registry data, which we have access and expertise in.
So I'm going to ask you to give us those numbers again, because they're stratospheric. Go on. 150
Absolutely.
companies, £20,000 each.
150 companies supported, £20,000 of equity-free funding that they received. They've gone on to raise over £130 million of investment and created over 2,500 jobs for the UK economy.
And are you able to share an example or two of the types of businesses that you're investing in?
Absolutely. So let me give you an example from the property sector, first of all. We have a fantastic alumni called Sale Homes, SAIL, who are a startup helping families going through probate to sell inherited properties, and have created a hugely simplified process to make less stressful what is already quite a stressful experience. So as many people know, the average home sale takes around 290 days to complete, but Sale Homes have achieved an average of 57 days. And their fastest record is a 3-day exchange, 10-day completion. So absolutely making huge waves in what, as I said, can be quite a stressful experience, and creating great innovation in that area as well.
Fantastic. Do you think we'll ever get to a completely paperless transaction that could happen within a day?
I hope so. I know that Sale Homes are targeting a 24-hour completion, and I have no doubt that they will get there. So I do genuinely hope that, you know, the innovations that we're supporting will lead to a much more simplified house buying and selling process.
I mean, it's all heading in the right direction. It's always been a frustration knowing that all of the information to enable a property transaction to happen, it exists. It all exists. It's all out there. If it can be collated, put together, and the money and the finance side can take shape because everyone's got the information to hand immediately, then deal can be done. So
exactly,
all power to you. Just brilliant. Congratulations. But actually what that means is it's another great example of everybody involved here is pushing in the same direction, because all of those companies are providing something useful in this sector. So it's brilliant. We absolutely celebrate it. Catherine, can I come back to you? Can you just talk generally about other benefits of this data? And I'm talking beyond the property sector now. What else is happening? Who else is benefiting?
Thanks, Phil. Well, yes, there's definitely kind of wider benefits to geospatial data and improving access to it. I mean, our view in the Geospatial Commission is that in the longer term, we believe location data will underpin the next generation of public services and businesses, just like some of those that Carly was talking about there. I can just give you a couple of examples of how it's already providing benefits to citizens beyond the property sector.
Okay.
So for example, geospatial data on property features can help emergency services navigate a building and identify likely hazards. Geospatial data on hydrology, so hydrology is the movement of water on and below the Earth's surface. That can help the Environment Agency respond to flooding incidents. Another example is geospatial data on land use and condition can support environmental monitoring and regulation. For example, it can be used to build models that support habitat conservation, woodland cover, soil protection, that sort of stuff. Of course, there's loads of other examples, but just let me pause there because I think those are the main things to highlight.
It's super clever stuff. Super clever stuff. Now, so we've heard about how data can deliver people benefits. Could I ask each of you to summarise by explaining what your individual organisations are doing to improve access to all of this better location data and how it's supporting people to use it? We've got two from the Land Registry, so perhaps we could start there. Are you able to sort of both of you talk about that?
I can start. So for our land register data sets, we're very conscious that we can continue to improve the what was described as the fairness of the data, so findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability. So basically people can get hold of the data and use it for more and more complex things in association with other data. So we know we can do things to improve how we provide the data sets which we already provide and how they can be reused. And we're working actively on that now.
Okay, thank you.
And from local land charges, our resolute focus is moving as many local authorities' data onto our service as we can. We've got 52 local authorities live on the service now, and if you live in one of those areas, you can get access to that data on gov.uk and just search for search for local land charges, and it's like a very straightforward search. It will take you seconds to get access to that data, and it's really, we've done about 3 million charges so far. We think there's probably 26 million to go, so we've got 23 million still to move over, and that's what we've got people working on every day.
I imagine you're working very hard, persuading or helping, supporting and encouraging all of the other local authorities to come on board with their data.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Generally, local authorities are really up for working with us and coming back. There was some skepticism at the beginning of the program, but I think people are seeing the support and obviously the quality of the service and what it can give for citizens. And fundamentally, people who work in government, national and local, we're here to serve the people of the UK. So are we getting a lot? We've got a lot of engagement, but it doesn't make the work any easier. It's fundamentally, we think there's probably, we've already got something like 28 million data items in our register. And that's just with the 3 million. So we're talking hundreds of millions of bits of data that we've got to work through, and that's just it's a mammoth task, but we're getting through it at pace now.
Good. Yeah, it feels like you're pushing at an open door, but it's a very heavy door, and you will get there. It's just time and resources. Carly, in terms of Geovation, how are you and your organisation improving access to all of this brilliant data?
Yeah, so first of all, we have exploratory licenses which enable our startups to access data and to experiment with it and to find out the art of the possible of what kind of businesses they might be able to build using our data. And that's not just Ordnance Survey and Land Registry data, it's also other data sets from other public and private sector bodies. So we specialise in all types of geospatial data. On top of that, we have an in-house tech team who can give them expertise, can give them guidance, and actually help them to build their products and services using that geospatial data. One final thing we do is we run very successful innovation challenges where we focus on a particular societal or environmental challenge. For example, how might we better manage our water resources, or how do we track our underground assets? And we'll bring together startups, the private sector and the public sector to all focus on that challenge together and look at how they use geospatial data to solve it. And we've awarded over £880,000 in funding to startups who have won those challenges and then gone on to build successful businesses off the back of it.
And Catherine, if we could just wrap up with you, if you could, on the geospatial side, please.
Thanks. Well, the Geospatial Commission, we're leading a wide variety of interesting projects to improve access to location data and promote its use. Again, I'll give you just a couple of examples. We've signed a multi-year contract with the Ordnance Survey to significantly upgrade the mapping data that the government collects and provides. And that includes the addition of 70 new data sets like building height, coastal change and tree cover. This new data is available free of charge for the public sector, and developers can access up to £1,000 a month of premium data from the Ordnance Survey for free. We've also invested beyond Ordnance Survey in wider public sector data improvements to make data on things like land ownership, its features and geology easier to find, access and use, both by individuals, but also by others in the PropTech industry. And finally, we're working with local authorities as well to assess how location data can support better planning decisions at a local level. So that includes a project that we're leading at the moment on the rollout of electric vehicle charge points. So I guess thanks in part to our work, in future it's going to be easier to see more information about a property's features, the surrounding land and neighbouring homes, and all of this means property buyers and sellers will be able to make more informed decisions at a quicker pace.
Which is what I love. Anything that speeds access to good information and therefore good property decisions has got to be good news for everyone. A really, really interesting session. I'm so grateful to all of you. And I'm pleased that we at Move IQ have had the opportunity, or the kind of platform, to enable you to share what you're doing, because it really is sensational. It's groundbreaking stuff that people just haven't heard about. So get out there and tell us more. I'm quite certain that this will be watched and listened to by a big number of people, and people will be delighted to know that you and all of your highly intelligent, sophisticated teams are doing what you're doing. So please keep doing what you're doing. It's going to make a big difference. A really fascinating session. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for your input. And I'm sure our listeners will have learned more than a thing or two on the value of location data, how it can be used to improve our lives, and specifically for them, how it's making the property market and the whole home buying process simpler and quicker, which has got to be good news for everyone. So, to summarise, yes, anyone can use the local land register if the property is in a local authority area that has migrated its service. And you can find out which authorities have migrated their services by visiting gov.uk. And we'll add links in our show notes for you. Land Registry are also the source of house price information, which we share in our Move IQ property reports. And as we mentioned during the session, the likes of Rightmove and Zoopla published too. This is also available on gov.uk. And finally, looking forward, looking over the horizon, we can absolutely expect more useful products and services to emerge as government are clearly taking steps to improve its geospatial data. It's fantastic news. It's really exciting. Thanks to our brilliant contributors today and to all of you for tuning in. We will add links in our show notes so you can find out more about this project and location data. All the best.